Christmas miracle. Billionaire sees hardworking waitress fired over her baby. His next move shocks everyone. Snow sweeps across Denver as Mary stands outside the diner, holding her cracked phone with trembling fingers. The wind tugs at her worn sweater, her faded apron still tied around her waist. The harsh glow of the diner's neon sign flickers above her as the door slams shut behind her, her manager's final act of humiliation echoing into the icy night. Cars rush past on Colfax Avenue, headlights glinting off the frozen pavement, but nobody stops. Mary tries to steady her breathing as she calls her babysitter, panic rising when she hears her crying baby in the background. Her voice quivers. She's fighting tears she doesn't have time for. Behind her, the diner door swings open again. Jeremy steps out, tall, composed, and watching her with a concern he can't ignore. His charcoal coat sways in the wind as he studies the young mother breaking down in the cold. And in this moment, this unexpected crossroads, his quiet step toward her sets a chain of events in motion that will shock everyone. Before we dive deeper, what do you think Jeremy sees in Mary that makes him approach her instead of walking away? Tell us where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories, and tomorrow we're dropping another one you won't want to miss. The story pulls us back in time, just a few days before the snowstorm, to truly understand the weight Mary carries. Mary lives in a modest studio apartment in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Denver. It's small, barely enough space for a crib, a thrift store dresser, and a secondhand couch. But she keeps it clean, organized, and filled with soft touches that show how much she loves her baby. A hand-stitched blanket from a church donation box, a string of warm lights pinned around the window, and a small bookshelf with children's stories she hopes to read aloud one day. Every morning, she wakes at 4:45 a.m. The baby usually stirs as soon as she moves, and Mary whispers soothing words while preparing a bottle. She doesn't have much money, so every ounce of formula counts. She calculates everything: how long a can will last, how to stretch diapers through the week, when to turn on the heater and when to bundle up instead. Mary's world is a map of tight decisions. By 5:30, she's heading to the diner. The sky is dark, the streetlights painting long shapes across the snow-dusted sidewalks. She takes the bus when she can afford it. Most days she walks. Inside the diner, the air smells of coffee grounds and fried eggs. The windows fog up from the heat. Customers start trickling in, regulars who know her face but not her story. Some greet her warmly. Some treat her like she's invisible. Some give her orders without looking up from their phones. But Mary pushes through. She has learned to survive quiet disrespect with polite smiles. She needs the job too badly to react. The diner manager, stern, impatient, always watching, believes in constant monitoring. He complains when Mary takes too long with a table, when she refills coffee before being asked, when she glances at her phone even briefly. He sees her baby as a liability, not a human being. Mary's phone buzzes throughout the day because she's constantly checking on her daughter through texts from the babysitter. Every buzz makes her heart jump, not because she's distracted, but because her daughter is 3 months old, and infants never get sick at convenient times. The stress weighs heavily on her. By the time she clocks out each day, her feet ache, her legs feel like lead, and her back pulses from hours of bending, lifting, serving. But when she walks into her apartment and sees her baby's soft eyes, everything else melts. She holds her close, whispering promises she prays she can keep. And as Christmas approaches, the pressure grows. Prices rise, shifts get busier, and Mary feels the strain of trying to create even a small holiday memory for her child. She doesn't expect miracles. She expects to work. She expects to carry the burden herself. But the world is about to prove her wrong. Now we turn to Jeremy, a man whose life looks perfect on paper. He's the CEO of a major real estate and logistics company headquartered in Chicago. His properties span New York, Phoenix, Dallas, and Los Angeles. His name appears in business magazines. He's invited to the biggest conferences, like the Pacific Capital Summit, where major investors expect his presence and insight. But behind the crisp suits and polished shoes is a man exhausted by the weight of his own achievements. Jeremy's divorce earlier that year left him feeling hollow. His work became routine, not passion. His days felt repetitive: meetings, decisions, negotiations, profits. He began searching for places where he could feel like a normal person, not a billionaire whose every move was scrutinized. When he flies to Denver for business, he decides not to visit the fancy restaurants in Cherry Creek or downtown. Instead, he wanders around looking for something simple, quiet, real, human. That's how he finds the diner. The first time he walks in, he studies the room with quiet interest. The jukebox in the corner is old but charming. The walls carry decades of memories, old photos, faded menus, and a chalkboard with specials scribbled in messy writing. And then he sees Mary. Not in a romantic sense. Not with pity, but with curiosity. She moves quickly between tables, offering warmth to customers even when they don't return it. She listens. She remembers orders. She apologizes for things that aren't her fault. She looks exhausted, but she's still polite. Jeremy doesn't know her story yet, but he remembers what it looks like when someone carries too much. He grew up with a single mother too. He understands the quiet grit it takes to keep going every day without anyone noticing your struggle. Something about Mary stays with him long after he leaves. So when he returns a few days later, for once not because of business but because something pulled him back, he finds himself in the middle of her worst moment, witnessing a firing that shouldn't have happened. And his life begins to shift as well. It is the day of the snowstorm when everything comes crashing down. Inside the diner, customers walk in complaining about the weather, the cold, the slow traffic. Steam rises from plates, conversations mix with clinking silverware, and stress levels rise. Mary moves from table to table, but her eyes occasionally dart to her vibrating phone. Her babysitter texts. She's crying more than usual. She feels warm. Please come soon. Mary's chest tightens. She approaches the manager during a brief lull. My daughter might be getting sick. I just need to check on her until my shift ends. The manager frowns. We're busy. Handle it after work. Mary swallows hard, nods, and returns to the floor. Minutes later, her phone buzzes again. She pulls it from her apron pocket for a split second, barely a glance. The manager sees it. He storms toward her, voice rising. Are you serious right now? I told you no more distractions. Mary tries to explain. She has a fever. The diner isn't babysitting your life. That's it. You're done. You're fired. The room falls silent. A couple at the counter turns to stare. Mary's hands freeze on the coffee pot. Her mouth opens, but no words come out. You want to keep arguing? The manager demands. Leave the apron here. Mary's cheeks burn with humiliation. She unties the apron slowly, her fingers trembling. She places it on the counter, whispers, I'm sorry, then steps out into the storm. The cold hits her instantly, chilling her skin through her thin sweater. Snow clings to her hair, lashes, and shoulders as she tries to steady her breath. Inside, Jeremy watches the entire scene unfold. His jaw tightens. He sees her pain. He sees the injustice. He sees the fear in her eyes. And he knows he can't just sit there. He stands up, leaves money on the table, and walks out after her. Outside, Mary's breathing is unsteady as she mutters to herself, trying to reassure the babysitter and herself at the same time. "I'm coming. Please just hold her. I'll be there so soon." Her voice cracks. Tears mix with snow. She wipes her face with the sleeve of her sweater. Jeremy steps forward. "Excuse me," he says gently. "I saw what happened. Are you okay?" Mary tries to smile, embarrassed. "I'll be fine. I need to get home. Let me drive you." Mary looks up, startled. She studies his face, unsure whether to trust him. His voice carries no pressure, only concern. "You don't know me," she says carefully. "I know a mother who's worried," Jeremy replies. "I know someone who didn't deserve what happened in there. And I know it's freezing, and you shouldn't be out here alone." His sincerity breaks through her hesitation. "Okay," she whispers. They walk to his car, a clean, modest SUV. Not flashy but well-maintained. Inside, warmth fills the cabin. Mary rubs her hands together, trying to stop them from shaking. Jeremy starts driving through the snowy streets, passing the glowing lights of Civic Center Park, the tall buildings downtown, and the festive displays covering street corners. For the first few minutes, silence fills the car. Then Jeremy asks, "Do you have anyone helping you with your baby?" She shakes her head. "No. It's just me." "What about family?" "They're not close by, and not really involved." He nods slowly. Mary glances at him. "Why are you helping me?" "Because no one helped my mom," Jeremy says softly. "And sometimes, people just need someone to show up." The sincerity in his voice hit her. She turns her face away quickly, pretending to watch the snowfall outside, blinking back tears. They reach her apartment. Mary invites him inside just long enough to meet the baby, who lies in the crib with flushed cheeks, fussing softly. Jeremy watches Mary scoop her daughter into her arms with gentle precision. He sees the love, the struggle, the strength. And right then, something settles in his mind. Something clear. Something decisive. He knows what he needs to do. The next morning, Jeremy wakes with a sense of determination he hasn't felt in years. He heads straight to the diner, not in disguise, not blending in. This time, he enters wearing a tailored coat, his professional demeanor unmistakable. The manager approaches, confused. "Can I help you?" "Yes," Jeremy replies calmly. "I'd like to speak with the owner." 10 minutes later, after a series of phone calls and stunned reactions, Jeremy sits at a table with the property owner, a man who recognizes him instantly. The negotiation is short, direct, decisive. Jeremy buys the building and the diner outright. The manager stares, startled, as Jeremy turns to him. "I saw how you treated your staff," Jeremy says. "Especially one woman who deserved better." "I was following policy," the manager insists. Jeremy shakes his head. "Your policy is flawed. And your leadership ends today." He is escorted out. The remaining staff watch, confused but relieved. Jeremy addresses them honestly. This diner will reopen with better working conditions. Fair pay, respect, and dignity. The employees nod, stunned by this unexpected champion. Jeremy makes no public announcements. He doesn't call reporters. He doesn't post about it online. He simply acts, quietly, decisively, humanely. Later that afternoon, Mary sits in her small apartment, rocking her baby. Her mind swirls with worry about rent, formula, and how quickly she needs to find new work. Her phone rings with an unfamiliar number. Hello? Mary? It's Jeremy. She sits upright. Hi, is everything okay? I'd like to see you. I'm downstairs. Her heart races. She slips on her shoes, wraps the baby in a blanket, and heads outside. Jeremy stands next to his SUV, hands in his pockets, watching her with calm reassurance. I bought the diner, he says simply. Mary's breath catches. What? And I'm offering you a position there. A better one. She shakes her head slowly, overwhelmed. Why would you do that? I don't understand. Because you deserve to work in a place that values you. And because I meant it last night, people should show up for each other. Tears well in Mary's eyes. Tears of relief. Gratitude. What position? She whispers. Shift supervisor. Benefits. Higher salary. Flexible hours so you can take care of your daughter. Mary covers her mouth with her hand, trying to keep herself composed. You don't owe me anything, she says. I know, Jeremy replies. That's why this feels right. Jeremy never planned for the story to go public. But by the next morning, one of the diner's staff posts a short message online. A billionaire came in and bought our diner after seeing our coworker get fired unfairly. He fired the manager and promoted her. Faith in humanity restored. The post goes viral. People across Denver, across the country, react with disbelief, gratitude, and admiration. Mary is overwhelmed. She never wanted attention. She only wanted to provide for her baby. Reporters show up at the diner. Customers return with supportive words. Former employees send messages congratulating her. Jeremy avoids all interviews. When people ask him for comments, he simply says, "It was the right thing to do." And Mary uses her newfound stability to build a life she had thought impossible just days before. Not lavish, not glamorous, just peaceful and secure. As the story closes, Mary looks out her apartment window at the city lights of Denver. Snow falls softly over rooftops, and her baby sleeps peacefully nearby. A few days ago, she stood in the cold with nothing. No job, no support, no certainty. Now she stands not just with a job, but with dignity restored. Jeremy, back in Chicago, feels something he hasn't felt in years, a sense of purpose deeper than business, richer than wealth. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about saving someone. It wasn't about making headlines. It was about doing what was right when it mattered most. A real Christmas miracle, born from compassion, humanity, and the simple belief that people deserve to be seen. Before you go, tell us where you're watching from and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing powerful stories to you, and tomorrow we're dropping another unforgettable one you won't want to miss.